Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus A330 pilot, and there is great news for those of you flying the iniBuilds A340. It's just received its latest update to version 1.0.3. There is quite some significant updates for the aircraft's model in there, and we're also seeing addition of one of the solely missed features required for transatlantic operations. Now, let's go right into this and have a look. So we're going to start with the updates to the aircraft's artwork. The previous version, as some of you have correctly noticed, had some problems with the correct positioning of the wing and the outboard engines, so that's number 1 and 4, on the wing. Now, iniBuilds have updated that and corrected those positions with update 1.0.3, and they've posted a great comparison picture, or rather two of them, on their forums, which I think are worth looking into. So let's go ahead and have a look. This is straight from the iniBuilds forum over here, and as you can see, this is what version 1.0.2 looked like. You can see that some of the flap fairings were not on the correct positions, the leading edge was not entirely accurate. Now, to be completely fair, this is something that I find to be pretty difficult to actually spot if you just look at the airplane in the sim, but if you look at it from this point of view, then it's very easy to see, just as the incorrect positioning of the outer engines. Now, this has seen an update, and if we have a look at version 1.0.3, then this is what it looks like now, where everything is positioned correctly. Now, that's the old version, that's the new version. As you can see, quite the difference here in terms of positioning of the outboard engine. Now, this has not just affected the actual position of the wing on the horizontal plane over here. I mean, look at the difference in the trailing edge, that's quite the size difference there. But it also affected the vertical positioning of the wing. So there's two things to be seen on the second picture. We're going to start by just focusing on the wing on the top over there. Look at how the wing is actually moving slightly upwards, and look at the position of the track fairings here. So what you see right now is version 1.0.2, and this is 1.0.3. So as you can see, quite the difference visible over there. Now, those of you who've looked closely will already have noticed the difference in the landing gear, and that's absolutely there as well. So, due to the new positioning of the wing, the landing gear itself had to be repositioned and corrected as well. And they took that opportunity not just to make sure that the gear is still in the correct position, but also correct the angle of the oleo struts to the wing over here. Now, look at this. As you can see, quite the difference, both in terms of the landing gear door, as well as the actual placement of the landing gear itself. So, quite the difference there, especially concerning the angle of the oleo strut. Now let's go ahead and have a look at that one live on the outside of the aircraft, because I think this is really worth mentioning, and I can add a little story there as well. As you know, the outboard landing gear of the A340 and the A330 are exactly the same. The only difference down here is that you don't have the center gear. So, when I did my first walk around after flying the iniBuild for quite a while, I came across the main landing gear and I was like, does that angle look correct? That thing is so bent over. And I was really not 100% sure about that. So, the answer is yes, it is correct. And we can nicely see that based on a photo as well. So if you have a look at this, you can really see how the landing gear is bent to the back there on the real world airplane as well. Now, it does look a little strange, to be honest, at first, but this is the correct angle, and this is actually correct on the real plane as well. Now, if we're already down here, there's a few more things that we can have a look at. The first of them is the cumulative dirt on the airplane, and remember we can select that in the settings. So if you go to ground equipment, then you could add the dirt and the weathering of the airplane over here. And I'm just going to turn this completely up, just to show you that they've increased the weathering and the dirt of the airplane with this update quite a bit. So we've now put this to a maximum, and you can see how, especially behind the landing gears here, there's quite a bit more dirt on the lower part of the fuselage now, where dirt from the runway is going to spray up during the takeoff and the landing when the gears are going over them. So that's really visible now, and I do think that that is quite a nice change. compared to the earlier versions. So, well done in terms of that on the aircraft as well. Now, there is one more thing that is really worth looking into, and that's going to be the decals that have been reworked on the airplane. Now, what are decals? Basically the addition of high detailed stuff in areas that would otherwise be low resolution. So let's have a quick look at some of the pictures from the iniBuilds forums. And down here they posted 3 shots showing what the airplane looks like now. Starting with a look at the Cathay Pacific aircraft, we can really see a high level of detail on the entire vertical stabilizer there, but we can also see reworked stuff on the horizontal stabilizers. Likewise, if we have a look at the Lufthansa tail, you can really see some more level of detail over here on all the surfaces, and the same goes for that Emirates livery here, showing you what the weathering really looks like over there. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Really pretty cool. So a very high level of detail. However, since the decals of the airplane have been changed, that means that any livery that included decals needs an overhaul as well. Any of the iniBuilds liveries that included decals, so all of them, can be downloaded through the ini manager now or through Marketplace if you've obtained your liveries through Marketplace on Xbox. And any third-party livery that is making good use of decals may need an update as well. So have a look out on flightsim.to or wherever you are gathering your liveries over the course of the next couple of days to see artists updating their liveries with the new decals. Now, with that in mind, let's go ahead and move on to the system side of the aircraft. There is a lot of small stuff over there that isn't all that small. Like if we do have a look at the changelog, then we can see that once again it is huge, just like we're used to from iniBuilds. I mean, just look at that. That is a lot of stuff they've done there. But I want to focus especially on one particular feature, and that's the addition of the constant Mach system. So, constant Mach, what is it? Why is it used? Let's demonstrate this. So I've quickly created a small flight plan from Copenhagen to New York over here, and I've just really made up some random route, so don't be particularly nitpicky with me with that one. No, you are not going to be able to validate that flight plan in CFMU, but let's go ahead and have a look. So when you're flying in the North Atlantic high-level airspace, then you will have to request a certain Mach number with your oceanic clearance, and you must maintain that exact Mach number. Now, it may look easy in here, like you can see that everything is planned at Mach 0.74, but that 7.4 isn't the complete number. Like, it could be 7.4562, for example, and you must fly 7.4 exactly. Likewise, you may get a Mach number assigned that is not immediately obvious from your cost index, so you might have to change that. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, pick a waypoint where you want the constant Mach to start. Let's assume that Charlie Oscar Lima is our nut entry over here. It has to be a waypoint past the top of climb, by the way. So let's just assume Charlie Oscar Lima it is. Now, you go to the vertical revision page over there, and then you've got this new prompt down here, which is Mach start waypoint. So let's say we want to fly Mach 0.82 across the North Atlantic. Then we can enter this over here, and now we can see the prompt for the end waypoint also comes up. Now, you can enter something down here, but you don't have to. If you don't enter something down here, then the constant Mach number is going to be maintained until the top of descent. But let's say that we only want to maintain the constant Mach number until, let's say, Echo November Echo down there. So then we can simply enter Echo November Echo as the end waypoint, and then press insert, and now you can see that from Charlie Oscar Lima the plane is going to fly 0.82. We can also see that this has been added as a speed restriction over here, and it's going to maintain that until Echo November Echo, and thereafter it's going to return to the cost index based Mach number. You can also nicely look at this on the constraint page down here, because the constraints should now show you a speed constraint of Mach 0.82, like you can see over here at Gander VOR. Now, there is one small bug if we want to be completely nitpicky with this, and that's this 0.82 at the start waypoint. So, The way that this feature works in the real-world Airbus is that the airplane maintains the old Mach number until overflying this point. For this reason, you would still see the old Mach number over here, together with an amber star next to it, because the FMS correctly detects that it is not able to actually already achieve the new Mach number at that waypoint. Remember, it flies 0.74 until overflying Charlie Oscar Lima, and only then starts to accelerate. So this should correctly show an amber star with 0.74, but the airplane would immediately start to accelerate as soon as you reach that waypoint. So for the nitpickers among you, no, you don't have to go to selected increase the speed before overflying that point, only to go back to managed then. No, you can simply leave it in managed, and then it will make that restriction. So that's completely acceptable. And well, that's the new constant Mach number feature that has been added. Now you can of course remove it at any time. Just go back in here and, oh, not that one, but that one. And you can just delete it again, and that's it. Now, this should bring up a temporary flight plan that you'd have to insert. So little bug there on the iniBuilds for not showing the insert prompt after deleting the constant Mach number. Well, and that's the major changes in version 1.0.3. Now, there is one more that I think doesn't really fit too well into this video. And that's, if we just go back out again to the main landing gear, then we have already talked about the fact that the geometry of the landing gear is now different. We've also talked about the fact that the landing gear is now tilting a little bit further aft. And this obviously means that when you're approaching, so when you're on approach, and you're flying with a pitch of like 4 degrees, then the fact that the landing gear is now aft of the center of lift on the wing means that the aft wheel is going to be a little bit lower. On top of that, the entire landing gear is going to compress when you're touched down, respectively going to extend when you're still in the air, because then it's just literally hanging down there at the strut. And iniBuilds have now modeled the updated gear compression logic together with the associated flight model changes. So what we see now is a slight change in the flight dynamics and the way the airplane lands as well. I will put that into a separate dedicated video though, to be able to talk about the exact differences, so be sure to stand by for that one. For the time being, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Hope that you found this one interesting. Be sure to leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. As always, like, comment and subscribe, and then I'm really looking forward to see you all again on the next one.